Great master was an ordinary person, born in an ordinary family, struggling to go through his life, struggling to get a job, found a job in the military engineering service in India, worked as an overseer on the roads, eventually became a sub-divisional engineer, still working on the roads, searching for truth, searching for a perfect master. Any holy man would come into the town, he would go to him and search. He was an ordinary person, like any one of us. He was so ordinary, he had problems like all of us. He used to go on his horse. Once he fell, he broke his leg, he had pain, he suffered like any one of us. He had treatment. He found his master by coincidence. He was working on the road and an old man walks by and he doesn't even look at that man. And that old man is followed by a lady who was with him. Her name was Bibi Ruko and the old man was Baba Jamal Singh, who later became his master. The lady said to her master, Baba Jamal Singh, "You told me you have come for this person who is on the side of the road, this engineer." He said, "Yes, I've come for him." She said, "But he hasn't even greeted you. He just ignored you." She said, "Wait 3 days." And then Baba Jamal Singh began to give his discourses. And 3 days later, my master heard about him and went and listened to him. He says, my great master says, at the very first look of that man, I knew this was the guy. He had met so many masters before that. But something happened. Something touched his soul and his heart in a way that nothing else had touched him before. So he began to attend his discourses. He had several doubts, like a skeptic, like many of us. He asked so many questions from his master and got answers. Only when he was convinced, reasonably convinced in his mind, and reasonably convinced that this was a very true love flowing from him, that he accepted him as his master. Even as his master, he wrote letters to him like an ordinary person. His master wrote letters back to him also like an ordinary person, and sometimes adding something highly spiritual, and sometimes writing an ordinary person. For example, in one letter, he wrote, "My dear son, Babu Sawan Singh, I am very happy to get your letter. Don't worry, your place in Sachkhand is already set up. Your place as a true home has already been set up. You are marked for that. You will definitely go there. And by the way, buy some more hay for the horses." In the same letter. There was such an exchange, human and spiritual at the same time. And that's the beauty of a perfect living master. He's totally human, just like us, and totally spiritual, carrying the consciousness of Sachkhand and Satpurish himself. So that was the kind of relationship they had. And later on, I agree with the professor that he was a clever man also. And I'll tell you why. In the last speech his master Baba Jamal Singh ever gave, there were 14 people present. One of those 14 people has recorded this conversation and has been now put in Punjabi on YouTube. You can hear this conversation recorded by a person who was there. It was recorded long ago, but still now it has been refurbished and put into the YouTube. In that 14 people, Baba Jamal Singh says, "This is going to be my last talk to you because I have done my work, which Swamiji, my master, entrusted to me. Henceforth, somebody else will do this work." And Baba Jamal Singh closed his eyes and then he opened his eyes. He said, "Sawan Singh, you will do this work." Great Master said, "Master, I see so many people around me amongst 14 of us who are more qualified, who are more dedicated, who are more in love and devotion for you. Why me?" Baba Jamal Singh says, "Wait, let me check it out from my master." So again he closes his eyes and a few minutes later opens it and says, new moj has come. That means new will has been expressed by Swamiji to him. The new, and Baba Sawan Singh says, what is the new moj? He said, new moj is only Sawan Singh will do this. And great master, now I am telling you his cleverness. He says, Master, I must tell you that I am a sub-divisional engineer given a good house by the government. You have been living in a little hut on the river Bias. Now you want me to give that house up and live in that hut to do your work. He said, wait, let me check that out. So he closed his eyes and after a few minutes opened them. New moj has come. And Baba Sawan Singh says, what is the new moj? New moj is, tell Sawan Singh that he will not have to live in the hut, he'll live in a house better than the house he has been living in. Baba Sawan Singh said, that's a good deal. But he said, I have more questions. He said, I also want to know that I am a poor man, my pension will be very little when I retire in a few years. How will I feed all the people? You say thousands of people will come to hear you. You had only 20, 30 people coming to you and now you say thousands will come. How will I feed them? And Baba Jamal Singh said, wait a minute. He closed his eyes, opened his eyes. New moj has come. Baba Sawan Singh says, what is the new moj? New moj is you will never have to spend a penny from your pocket. People will donate and they will bring the food and you will be able to serve as many people as they come. He said, that's good, but I have another question. So what is the question now? He says, my question is that you are expecting me to have all kinds of people come to the dera there. There will be people who are drunkards, people who are criminals, people who are thieves. And how will I handle them? You never had a chance to handle them. So Baba Jamal Singh says, wait a minute. He closes his eyes for a few minutes, again opens his eyes. New moj has come. Now what is the new moj, Master? New moj is even criminals who will come, when they look at you and hear you, they'll become saints. And by the way, I must tell you, one real criminal had come. His name was Shadi. He had come to rob the dera. And he became a saint, one of the highest achieved person in the spiritual path, who stayed with the great master all the time. And by the way, he was a Muslim. He was belonging to Islam religion before that. He kept his Islam. He didn't change the religion. But he was able to meditate and see even Prophet Muhammad in meditation done under great master's guidance. But great master did not stop there. He asked a few more questions like these. And finally he said, Master, you say that once a person is initiated by a master, he will not be coming back to this physical world more than 4 times. Are you suggesting that if I initiate somebody, that person will keep on coming 4 times and I have to come along with them? Master, I am tired of myself staying here. I want to go back at this time and you want to make me stick for 4 lifetimes again. And Baba Jamal Singh said, wait a minute. And he went into inner mood for a few minutes, opened his eyes. He says, new moj has come. Now what is the moj? New moj is Sawan Singh, whoever you will initiate will never have to come back again. It will be their last life. He said, thank you, and then he accepted the mantle of conducting the work of Swamiji through Baba Jamal Singh in the Dera in India. So truly, it is correct, he was clever, the deals he got. Not many people are able to negotiate deals like that on the spiritual path. If I had asked the great master to take away all my karma, I would be dead. I would not be here. Without karma, nobody is alive. So I did not ask him to take all my karma. I didn't want to commit suicide. That would be the end of me if he took away all the karma. The karma sustained me. Karma is still sustaining me. What I did was to have a deal with the master. It was not a deal about taking away all the karma. It was a deal where I heard the master give a discourse where he said, Kaya Nagar, It was a chanting. Chanters chanted this verse, and Master explained what it means. Kaya Nagar, Nagar hai Niko, which is Sauda Har Ras Kijiye. That this body is a city, it's a township. Inside the body, there is a certain marketplace up above in the head. If you want to get real deals, go to that marketplace. You can get the best deal. So I went to the great master and I said, I heard this discourse of yours that you can have a deal. Can I have a deal? He said, sure. I said, a deal means I give you something and you give me something. Isn't that what a deal is? A transaction? He said, sure. I said, can I give you all events that involve unhappiness, sorrow, suffering, bad luck, all that to you? And you give me all the goodies of life? He said, done. From that day, he kept his word, I kept mine. Because we followed a deal. I came to this country in 1962, was at that time so full of pride of this deal. What a deal I got. And I told some satsangis, followers of masters in this country, you know, I got a deal. We all can get a deal. That's the real thing to get from a master. Get a deal like that. And they told me, you are so unfair. You did a disservice to your master. How could you put all your bad karma on the master? And how could you get all the good stuff from him? They rebuked me, admonished me for getting a deal like that. And I kept quiet and I said, these people have no idea what a master is. These people have no concept at all what this human being is. If with one touch of his finger, he can take all of us to Sachkhand in 1 second. That's his power. What are we talking about? Being unfair to such a person? What have you understood about him? We don't know master at all. That we take him as an ordinary person. They have no idea at all. That these deals are practical deals. And they work. Very few people get them. Why? Not that I was extraordinary to get it. Anybody else could have got it. But they would not have been able to keep it. If I say to the master, I give you all my bad karma, he says, okay. Do I have reason to worry after that? Supposing I worry after that, I have not followed the deal. There's a condition automatically attached to this, that once I've given something, I can't worry about those things I've given. So if I kept on worrying about things which I've given to the master, deal fails. People told me, you know, that was a simple way you taught us, let's try it. And they try the deal and they start worrying next day about what they've already handed over to the master. Master said, okay, take it back. We'll work out next time. It's not difficult to get the deal. It's difficult to keep it up. It's not difficult for the master to keep this part of the deal. It's difficult for us to keep the part of the deal. That we should be able to rely on the master to such an extent and have that kind of faith, that kind of belief, that he will take care of everything from now, I need not worry about anything. That kind of faith will make the deal real. If you don't have that, what kind of deal is it? Then you are not following your part of the deal and the deal fails. So that's what I meant. I did not say take away all my karma. I said let's have a good deal, and I can see, because in course of time I realized that master does not work from outside. That human being was not the one who did the deal. The master who makes the deal is inside. The master who makes the deal is projected of our own true self. And the deal is with your own self. The deal is to have faith and surrender with no question. If you can achieve that, you got the deal. Even if you talk to nobody outside. The deal is a deal on faith. The deal is about how much you believe without doubt. How much unshakable faith you have. That makes the deal. And not what you converse with anybody. Conversation was not the deal. The deal was to keep up. He kept his word, I kept mine. If either of us don't keep our word, the deal fails. So that was the true answer about the deal. It's all a question of faith. If our faith is lacking, the deal fails. This deal is for a state of mind, a state of being, a state of consciousness where we are able to surrender to the will of somebody who looks external to us but actually is our own inner self. It's very difficult with the kind of minds we have. It's very difficult. Now look at Western society. Look at United States. I come here and I'm carrying this deal with me. It works equally good here. It worked equally good in India. Worked equally good all over the world. The deal is not dependent on where I am. The deal only says, trust your master, he'll do everything, and he does it. I come to a country where there is so much fear, paranoia about a deal like this. Will anybody say, give your mind up entirely to another person to decide for you? So many cults have led to tragedies in this country. Gurus are at a big discount in this country because they are all considered to be creating cults and creating paranoid situations where they can lead people to disaster. And from all observations we see, there have been people who have led people to disaster, obvious disaster for us. How can anybody trust? When I came to the country in the 60s, one of the prominent word was think. All over the boards we used to sign the word think written up. Think for yourself. Don't make somebody else think for you. And here I am talking of a deal where I make somebody else think for me. How will it work in this culture, in this society? It's not easy. We have been brought up differently. We have been brought up to not trust anybody. We have been brought up, be very careful. Everybody is going to be playing mischief with you. They're all going to rob you one day. They're all going to hurt you one day. We're brought like this. Paranoia and fear exist in us all the time. Insecurity is part of our life over here all the time. I have never seen so much insecurity in any culture that I've seen here. Why are people so insecure? They are insecure about their future, insecure what will happen in old age, insecure about their finances, insecure about their health, insecure about their life. And all these insecurities lead to so much fear. They are afraid of meditation. They are afraid of deals. How can you talk of a deal in this background of upbringing and creating this kind of paranoia situation, a situation of fear? Deals take place when you are a fearless warrior. Great Master used to say, the true spiritual path, effective spiritual path, is not meant for cowards. It's meant for brave warriors who are willing to face their own mind, who are willing to overcome their mind and fight it out and stay with their soul and not be misled by their mind and its doubts and its fears. Did you know that the fear and doubt is only a function of the mind? Their soul has no fear and no doubt of anything. So long as we identify with the mind, we are afraid and we have doubts. The moment you disassociate yourself and make the mind your slave, all fear disappears and all doubts disappear. That's the spiritual path. We are supposed to separate ourselves from the mind, realize we are not the mind. We are souls empowering the mind to function. And therefore, when we separate from the mind, our strength comes back and fear goes away and doubt goes away. There's such a clarity available through the spiritual path that everything falls in place. No confusion, no doubt, no fear. It's doubt that is the creator of fear. Supposing you have no doubt, you will see you lose fear also. I have found only those who are able to practice the meditation to the extent of not being dependent on the mind, realizing the mind is not themselves, are totally fearless and doubtless. And that's one of the benefits you will get from meditation if you practice enough to see the mind is not yourself. It's just a thinking machine. It's just a thinking, reasoning machine attached to consciousness. It's attached to the soul. And we are misusing it. We are making it decisions for us. We are being led by it. Let us not be mistaken. The mind is not ourselves. And if we are not the mind, we can make a deal like the kind I made and it worked. It'll work for anybody. Thank you.
How do we try to reach where we will meet the Master? And while doing our regular duties, we tend to get trapped in good and bad karmas. Is it bad? And now to get out of it.
We meet a master after initiation at the threshold of the astral plane, which is where we forget the use of the senses through the body, through the 9 doors of the body, where we withdraw, forget they exist, and we open up to the 10th door. Attention gets turned over into the 10th door. Master can be seen there, the radiant form. It does not mean that he comes at that time. He is there all the time. We are not ready. We are going there now. He is waiting. After initiation, he is waiting exactly like we'll meet him. But we meet him when we are able to pull our attention to that point, which sometimes takes little time, sometimes takes a long time, takes a whole lifetime. Depends on how much distracted we are by outside things. All our outside duties and work that we do as part of our karma, we have to do. If we don't do it now, we'll have to do it later. So one should not withdraw from performing his duties, carrying out his obligations, doing what is required to be done based on the karma which has created this life. So he should give all the skill and attention to do what is outside. But at the same time, he can start putting his attention inside by doing things with a little attachment to it. Attachment being, I am doing it for my master who is waiting for me. You're doing the same thing. You're doing your job, and you are doing your job to make money, and you are always thinking, this will give me money. Shift it a little. I am doing my job for master. And forget the money part. It will come anyway. I am doing this cooking of food for my family and really for the master. When you begin to associate the master in your thought, with every action you are doing, you are meditating all the time. When do you find that this has worked? When you sit for a little few hours in meditation, you find progress coming from what you were doing during the day. And why is that? Because if you are remembering the master, in every action you are doing outside, a love and devotion is automatically developing further. People ask me, how can you develop love and devotion for a master? The easiest way, do your things and think of the master. Do service of people and say, Master, I am doing your work. Help people, Master, you told me, I am helping. If your constantly mind is thinking of Master, are you not devoted to him? So even by practicing this, we get love and devotion, which is essential for going beyond the mind into our true home. Therefore, we can practice this kind of meditation while doing our duty, while doing our worldly duties. Running away from our duties is not a solution. The law of karma, the law of action and reaction with which we are living in this world, forces us to do those things. It uses 5 vices, vicious passions in us to do them. When we say we don't want to be angry, anger, lust, possessiveness, greed, ego, haughtiness, all these are vices and we have to get rid of them. Yet we have to use the very vices to pay off our karma. It's a two-edged sword. We use this to pay off karma and regret afterwards. Oh, I should not have got angry. I should not have done that. We add more karma by our guilt to the karma already we are paying off. That's no good advantage. No. Then how should we do it? We don't have to be angry. We pretend to be angry. We know all the time Master is helping us to go through this karma. And remembering this thing is good itself. Remembering that everything that we happening here because of Master. No guilt, no thinking of the past. We move forward, we're getting rid of karma, paying this account, paying off that, paying off that. Happy to pay off your bills. Aren't you happy to pay off your bills and have credit-free history of yours? I mean, no loans and no thing. These are loans we are paying off. So karma should be treated like you're paying off your old debts. And when you paid off, feel happy with every event. And say, Master, done it. Keep this communication with Master. Even when you're doing everything which looks good and bad out here. If you follow this method of remembering Master in everything, you will much faster reach the 10th door and meet the Master inside. The answers to some fundamental questions which we have. Questions as fundamental as who are we? Why are we here? What is the purpose of this creation? What is the purpose of our being here? What is the purpose of creating a world by God or anybody, any power, whether it's autonomous power or it's a creator, in which there is so much misery and so much suffering, and people are so unhappy here? What was the whole purpose of having a world of this kind? These are very fundamental questions which have bothered a lot of us. And they bother us because we can't find easy answers. We go to religion, all religions, they tell us something very similar. They say there is a creator, and the created everything. And yet when it comes to the evil part of creation, they can't explain why the creator did that. So religions have conveniently adopted a negative power. The Satan, devil, he is responsible for all the evil, and God is responsible for only good things. Then if God is only for good things and the evil is being perpetrated by somebody else, who created both of them? Obviously, whoever did the whole show must have done something for a purpose. And so to understand what the purpose of creation is, we have fundamental questions in our mind. And I have come to share the answer that I obtained in a lifetime in association with the Perfect Living Master. The answers are a little bit surprising because we find out that what we are taking to be real, what we are taking to be a real world of pain and pleasure, a real world of good and evil, actually is not real at all. That makes a big difference. If we go and see a movie, and the movie has many horror scenes and negative scenes, we don't jump to the screen to stop it. We don't try to interfere with it. We know it's a movie. We know it's not real. We have come to just watch it and see it. If we began to take a movie as real, we would tear up the screen into pieces. We don't do that because we know it's a movie. There is a way to understand and to know and realize that this world of duality, this world of pairs of opposites, is also like a movie. It's no different than that. It's an illusion created in such a way as to look real. A movie looks real too. When you go to a movie, you cry, you laugh. In fact, I never cry in my real life, but I always cry in movies. My kids carry handkerchiefs for their pocket, and when they sit next to me in a movie hall, they bring out the handkerchief. Daddy, here's something to use to wipe your... The point is that we get emotionally involved with the characters in a movie and take them as real. Why do we do that? Why should we take a movie so seriously as to be affected by the emotions being expressed there? There's a reason for that. A reason that had been expressed long ago by a Greek philosopher, Aristotle. Aristotle explained that drama, because there were no movies in his time, but drama on the stage was still there. He said drama is essential for our emotional health. that we get filled up in our hearts with emotions. We hide them in our heart and we don't express them. And when we go to see a play, when we see drama, we identify with the characters there and get our emotions released. It's almost like a purgation of emotions. He calls that experience an experience where we willingly suppress our disbelief. It's a willing suspension of disbelief, he says in Greek, that we deliberately want to forget at that time it is not real. If we did not do that, we would not be able to release our emotions. So it's for the health of our emotions, for health of something inside us, that we take a drama or a play or a movie to be real. It is exactly the same reason why the illusion of creation has been made so real. In fact, nothing has been left undone to make it a new illusion. It's a great illusion. It's one of the best illusions that you can ever find, because it has been suppressed and it looks like real. It looks like real so that we can have a better experience within ourselves. Emotional experience is only up to a certain point. Emotional experience is in the heart. Emotional experience is in the throat, where we go when we go to sleep and dream. Emotional experiences are all in the energy centers that lie below the eyes. What about the suppression of something that is behind the eyes? What about that part which is sitting inside our head, which is our true self? The true self needs a release too. What release does the true self look for? It is looking for a release from the bondage into this experience. It is trying to get out of an experience which has become a trap for it. And that's a spiritual experience. It's not emotional. For the sake of the spiritual experience, we are willing to take this world as real, reject it, feel disappointed with it, say this is not our place, and look for that which should be our place. Every one of us who has a soul and spirit and life is a seeker of the truth. A seeker discovering, who am I? This is not a new question. We all have this question. We have had it for thousands of years. We have had it ever since the creation. Who am I and why am I here? The answer can only come when we go to who you are. That means the self. The self is not outside of us. The self that we are looking for, our own self, is inside us. The self that is seeking, the self that feels this is not our place, the self that is lonely, the self that is sitting in a crowd can still feel lonely, because nobody seems to understand us the way we want to be understood. Nobody can have the same feeling for us that we really need. That self sitting inside us is being covered by very big, thick covers. And that is why we can't know who we are. I read a story the other day, which I'll share with you, from the times of Guru Nanak, one of the mystics. A man went to Guru Nanak and he said, "You talk about the importance of human life. I want to know what is the value of human life. Why do we have it?" Guru Nanak produced a large ruby from his pocket, big one, shining red ruby, and gave it to that man. He said, "Go and get its value. From whoever you come across, come and find out. Say, what is the value of this jewel that I'm giving you? But don't sell it. Just find out the value and come back to me." The man walked out and there was a fruit shop selling fruits. He showed that ruby to the man who was selling fruits. He said, "Look at the stone. What do you think is the value?" He says, "Beautiful, right, shiny. I'll give you a dozen oranges for it." He said, no, I'm not going to sell it. My master said, don't sell it, just find the value. And he kept it back and walked further. There's a vegetable seller. He showed him also that stone. Said, "What is the value you think of this stone?" They show me. "Oh, beautiful. I'll give you a sack of potatoes for this. He said, no, I've not come to sell it, just to get the value. He takes it back. Then he goes into a jewelry store and shows the stone. They say, it's worth 50,000 rupees. It's a very valuable jewel. It's the largest ruby I've seen. And it's worth more than other smaller stones. I give you 50,000. Just leave it with me. No, my master said don't sell it, just get the value. No, I'll double it. I'll give you 100,000. Just leave it here. No, my master said don't sell it, I'll take it away. Then he went to another diamond merchant who happened to be a disciple of that master Guru Nanak. He showed him. He says, this is not an ordinary ruby. This has come from your master. All the wealth of the world, if you put together, cannot equal this ruby. So he went back to the master. He said, I got so many different answers. He said, you got the answers to what is the value of life. You can make it worth a dozen oranges. You can make it worth a sack of potatoes. You can make it worth a certain amount of money, or you make it invaluable, more than the existence of the entire universe. Depends on how you treat life, what you make out of life. We have been given a human life. It has a very unique feature in it, a feature that no other life has. Neither a lower life nor a higher life has that feature built into this human life. And the feature is we can experience free will. We have the capacity to feel we make choices. We feel we set our destiny every moment by deciding what to do. How do we have that experience? We have that experience that although the entire life is predetermined, the whole creation is predetermined. The Creator knows the whole show in advance and all the time. We can't see what is going to happen in the future. We are blocked. We are ignorant about the future. We are ignorant of the next 5 minutes. Because of our ignorance, we feel we are making decisions by our thoughts, by our choice making, and that is what happens. Little realizing that our choice making, our thinking, how to make a choice and what choice to make is already predetermined. And we are doing exactly what is predetermined. And that's why things happen that way. This, we forget that everything is predetermined, we don't see it, and we see that we are making choices. As an experience, not of reality. Reality is everything is predetermined. The experience is we are making that choice right now. This great combination put together of a predetermined destiny in which we are placed in the middle with ignorance of the future, in which we feel we make that decision now. That great gift of free will is the very great gift which makes us a seeker and takes us on the path back to our true home. It's only when you seek you can find. And if we didn't have this free will, we couldn't seek. We'd just be drifting along in our life. It's what a wonderful thing to create a certain darkness of our own life by ignorance of the future and placing us in a position where our mind thinks and makes decisions and thereby becomes a seeker and can find the truth.